that
Zhang
he played
Hui
with.
Did he do
Yeah,
Zhang
he
Hui
did. He
Mei?
played. He
Jay
played.
Chou?
So here's the story. So
Ah,
Jay Chou
okay.
actually came to my house before.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Lorong Boys podcast.
My name is Rit.
My name is David.
I'm Jonathan.
My name is Joakim, and thank you to NAC for their DPG grant in which we can do this podcast for you. And
Yeah.
the previous time, we talked about me, so I don't want to take the spotlight now.
Really? What a shocker. I've known you for so long.
Really?
But yes, I mean, today we actually really wanted to talk about Red,
Mhm.
especially because he's been away for a year and a half, I would say.
Probably a year.
Yeah.
Probably a year.
Yeah.
But I felt that I haven't seen you a lot because, me and John have been away, so
Right.
we've missed you a lot.
Well,
Not a
Miss
lot,
you
just
too.
a little bit.
we should give a primer to Red. For those of you who don't know Red, he's just one of the best jazz musicians. Like, he's a jazz flautist, and I like to tell the story. I heard my best jazz concert last year when I went to Maduro and heard him play his album, and the whole time I was just thinking it's just exhilarating, it's sublime, and it was nuanced, and all these words as I was just standing at the back because it was completely packed. So we were all just standing at the back, and I'm trying to crane my head to see what's going on, but it was incredible. So thank you, Rit, for that experience.
Thank you, John. That was very generous of you. I think at the bottom of my heart, I really just want to play music. I think with no labels,
Mm.
genres. To me, it's just music. I want to be the best musician that I can be. So it can be. I mean, I guess predominantly I'm working in the field of improvised music, in the language of jazz. But it can be a lot of things once you really understand fundamentals of music making. And to me, it's just everything is connected. Everything's connected. So I just I guess was very generous of you to have mentioned some of those qualities that are really important to me when it comes to making music.
It's funny because you and I, we also improvise. We do a sort of flute piano improvise thing, and we did in like sort of French, modern French style.
Yeah. That also is one aspect of my musical personality that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
As well.
You want to talk a bit about? Yeah.
No, yeah, you've always mentioned that it was your dad who brought you up and who like introduced you to music, and he was a pianist, right?
Yeah, he was he was back in the 80s. My late father was the first call pianist in the scene, and he did some tourings with some of the regional pop acts, as the MD sort of, and also
Oh, he was the MD.
yeah,
Wow.
sort of, so
MD, for those of you who are not
Initiated.
woke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Managing director.
music director.
Dude,
Okay, I wasn't sure.
music director.
Sometimes you say stuff that. Yeah, he was the music director.
So I grew up listening to everything that he listens to.
And who were some of the acts that he, so
that
Zhang
he
Hui
played
Mei?
with?
Did he do
Yeah,
Zhang
he
Hui
did. He
Mei?
played. He
Jay
played.
Chou?
So here's the story.
Ah,
So Jay Chou
okay.
actually came to my house before.
Oh.
This was in 2002.
Okay.
I was sleeping. Shame. This is like this was way past, probably late in the morning, 3 a.m. 4. Yeah, so they were having some project discussion, which in the end it didn't happen. But yeah, that was the story.
I thought you'd say, I was in school or something like that.
No.
I said, but I was
Jay Chou came to my house.
sleeping.
I was sleeping.
Yeah. So.
Okay, but he also did jazz, a lot of jazz, right? A
Yeah,
lot of
he's.
jazz,
I
yeah.
think he's. My dad is kind of like. My dad is the. How should I say? He doesn't perform that music that much, but in his heart, he's really He's kind of a jazzer at heart.
Of course.
And back in those days, I mean, the opportunities are not as aplenty as what we have today. So musicians really have to do a different amount of things, play different kinds of music just to make a living.
Of
So I
course.
think that he really fed the family by being the MD that he was, and doing lots of pop music arrangement. I mean, because that was such a huge market, and through that he managed to raise a family,
Yeah.
which eternally grateful for.
Okay, and so you've also done a lot of work in the Chinese music scene, right? Because I heard you're one of the best 笛子 players in the country.
Actually, really started in primary school. I was in the CCA, which is the Chinese orchestra. My dad wanted me to expose me to different kinds of genre, so I was involved in that for a lot, and I learned a lot. I developed my what I call musical empathy, which is an appreciation for non-Western based music, because I find that kind of empathy is sort of lacking in our scene. But so I absorbed that sound. I dabble in Indian music as well, and also have a huge interest in world music, especially the rhythm, especially the rhythm that's used in world music. So that has introduced me to such a wide range of it only serves to inform me even more, like when it comes to making music in classical or in jazz or whatever. So I think again, for me, everything is connected, and it all has to start with the love for the sound. I think Hermeto Pascoal said that. He said that in Brazilian, which is it all begins with the love for the sound. It's something. I can't remember how to say that in Brazilian, but there's this famous quote which it really resonates with me a lot.
How would you say you get about achieving this, like practicing this sound that you're looking, this maybe the ideal sound that you're looking for?
Well, in my case, I play the flute, so I listen to the greats. I listen to the great flute players. I mean, in the beginning, of course, there was James Galway, which I was a huge fan of. I'm still am, and so many others: Emmanuel Pahud, Patrick Galloway, who else? David Formisano. So many. It's just too many names in my head. But I will listen and not just passive. It's not it's a very active kind of listening, which involves a lot of focus and a lot of. It's almost like a meditation. You try to really zoom in into the nitty-gritty of what are they doing with the change in color and all that, and I just really pay attention to all of that and try to create that in my own ways.
Actually, can we talk more about this whole passive active listening? Because I feel I engage a lot in passive listening, like where it's so easy to have so much music right now at our fingertips, and we just click play and we're like, oh cool, how do you separate, how do you go into that sort of active zone? What are you looking out for? What are you actively thinking about?
I'm listening to how musicians interact with each other through the recordings. I'm listening to how they react to each other. I'm listening to surprise. Where are the surprises? I would like the music to surprise me. It may feel like it's going in one direction and then suddenly it goes somewhere else.
Right.
So I think it's all linked to great storytelling.
So in our conversations, I mean, we have some dinners. We talked about. You talked about not liking the term improvisation, and you prefer to go for, if I may, spontaneous composition. Can you talk more about that?
How about comprovisation?
That's great. Do you want to elaborate more on,
Well, I think improvised music has, unfortunately, has sort of a bad what you call
Reputation?
that? In that people think that you're improvising means you can just play anything, and I think that's one of the most dangerous thing to say, that you can just play anything. I mean, depending on who you're telling that to, you can tell that to a kid, or and the kid would just really play anything, right? and having the ball of having such a great time. So it really depends on the context. And also for me, what I meant by comprovisation is that when I'm improvising, I like to think that I'm composing at the same time. So there is a very strong intention in every note. There is a sense of inevitability that thing is happening. It's not just all right. for instance, I played a note, and even though I may not have intended that note, but it has already happened. So how can you make that part of the composition now? So that's what I meant by improvisation.
Okay. Wow. You want to just take us through? I don't know, because you after your teenage years you went to NAFA, right? For there was just a flute program.
History 101. Because I'm tracing back the history.
Yeah. I know all of
I
their
did,
histories. And after that you went to Yongsu-to. So how was it
Yeah.
like being? You've been in the Dizi scene or in the Chinese music scene. You've been doing quite a lot of pop, and then now you're in the classical scene. When we got to know
To
each
be
other.
honest, I never really felt a difference. I mean,
Mm.
in the beginning, of course, you have to learn the dialect of the music, and you have to be a serious student, and that part you do it on your own. You don't have to tell anyone that I mean, your music will. I believe the music will speak for itself. So I've always done my homework on my own, and I'm just a music lover in general. So it was never really different for me, other than the fact that I'm playing a different instrument with different people, with different appreciation for the music and different levels of understanding. So I guess that was about it. But for me, I just want to play with the best of intention, the best of honest intention, with integrity, with listening, with communication, and all those qualities which I feel that is all applicable to all types of music.
Right. I mean, you so from my perspective, you can say that, but you definitely need like a toolbox, like a technique,
Right.
like an array of
Having done
arts.
your homework, right?
Right. So can we
Yeah.
talk about how you achieve all those like like for
What was the
yeah.
homework?
yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of listening,
Mm.
lots of hiding in your room and just indulging in music and reading also, and talking to other people, talking to other musicians, and having a life, I guess.
Right. What about the practice part of it, like with your flute?
The practicing, having great teachers, of course, that helped, and I had that in Yongsu-to.
Hmm.
I was very fortunate to study with Mr. Jing Ta, who is the
Oh, yeah.
principal flute in Singapore Symphony. So, and we always talk about sound, talk about tone, and yes, I think asking the right questions as well, and yeah.
All right, thanks. And I just have one quick question about why you play the flute, right? Was it an instrument that your dad picked, or was it something that you picked?
You want the short or the long version?
Let's hear the long version, dude.
The long
We got
version
time.
is the short version is that it's convenient. Right?
Oh yes, it
Right?
is
You
very.
can't- you
It's
can't
very
deny
very
that,
small.
yeah.
Look at Joachim. He's sitting on
Yeah.
this thing that he has to bring around and all his symbols.
But for me, I just fell in love with the sound of the flute right from the beginning, and I feel that it is the instrument that allows me to speak my heart at the wavelength that I hear,
Wow.
at the sound.
Mm.
The sort of every instrument has a soul,
Mm.
and for me, I just feel that whenever I hear this instrument, I hear my soul. I hear my soul speaking, and that is something that is too. It's very important to me
Mhm.
that there is a connection in the heart with your instrument. So when I first heard it, it was like the deal is done. Yeah, this is going to be an instrument. And in fact, until today, I still discover new things. I still discover new ways of approaching playing the instrument, right? So, and context also, like placing the flute with in an orchestra. How would the flute sound in an orchestra? How would the flute sound in a rhythm with a jazz rhythm section? How would the flute sound if you with Lorong boys? So it's also you start to hear things in different layers, and the framing is also makes a difference in how I approach the sound of the instrument.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. For those of you who don't know, Rit is about to graduate from his master's program at Queen's College. What would you say, let's say, the 3 biggest takeaways? Or you can give more if you want, or less.
Studying in Queen's College,
Yeah, in New York City.
being in New York in general, well, I mean, you get to meet people who are really passionate about the music, and that's great. And you get to just experience that human energy, that like all the great musicians coming together and with no egos. You just want to make the music sound great and have a ball of a time. So that I really appreciate, and I really enjoyed. And being in school is you get to relearn. At least for me, I feel like I get to relearn the music in a more institutionalized manner. So things are more things are more systematic, and then you get to revisit the theory, the practical side of things, and ensemble music, playing in ensembles and playing the repertoire. So because some of the music, some of the repertoire in the jazz canon, you don't get to play them that often outside of school. You know?
Oh, that's
So
true,
I think
yeah.
school provide you with that environment to really experiment with that. So I would say that, and the last would be takeaways. Meeting the great professors. I mean,
Oh,
Queen's
yeah.
College has such a wide range of very accomplished faculties, like my professor Antonio Hart,
Oh yeah. Very
Jack
good.
Patton,
Mm.
Michael Mossman, Dennis McCrell, David Bergman. All these are all the greats in the New York scene. So we were very fortunate to be there, at least for me, in Queen's College.
Mm. All right. Well, thank you so much for that time, Red. We definitely have a lot more questions, but why don't we just as with all our episodes, I think we're going to try and make this a habit. We're going to end off with a short jam.
Do you want to do a improvise over a drone?
All right, let's do that.
much, and hope to see you next time.